Good afternoon, fellow shareholders. Today is the 27th of January, 2024, and it's my pleasure to call the 60th Annual General Meeting of Banks GIS Limited to order. Can we put our hands together for good applause for the police band this afternoon? Thank you very much, sir. Can you now stand, please? Thank you very much. I will now call on Mr. Paul Andrew Carto to offer us a prayer for this meeting.
Would you please stand? Father God, as we gather here for our company's annual general meeting, we come before you with humble hearts. We seek your divine guidance to unite our minds and spirits. Help us to set aside our differences and work harmoniously towards common goals. Bless us who are associated with this organization with the strength to appreciate each other's contributions and foster an environment of understanding and cooperation. We come together before you today, acknowledging our need for wisdom and discernment. As we address the matters which constitute this annual meeting, we pray for your guidance and insight. Grant us the ability to make wise decisions that will benefit our shareholders, stakeholders, and members of this organization. May your wisdom shine through us, leading us to paths of righteousness and success. In this moment of gathering, we pause to express our profound gratitude and are thankful for the opportunities and blessings that have brought us to this annual meeting. May we never take for granted the privilege of working together towards our shared mission. As we deliberate, Father, help us to remember the countless ways in which you have blessed us, filling our hearts with humility, thankfulness, and appreciation. In turn, we offer our thanks for your love and grace which sustains us on our journey. We give thanks for the opportunity to pursue our mission and purpose, and we seek your blessings for success. Amen. Would you remain standing, please, as we observe a minute's silence for our late chairman, our late vice chairman, directors and employees who have passed away are not with us since we last met. Thank you. Please be seated. I now invite our Vice Chairman, Mr. Errol Chung, to make the presentation for Long Service Awards. Rommel Edmondson, 20-year service. Althea Peters. Latoya McFarlane. Malvin Hopkinson. Yolanda Niles, not here. Lawrence Austin. Leon Johnson. Kwesi McCoy. No. Egerton Stewart. Paul Winter. No. Christopher Prasad. No. Roseanne Griffith Marshall. Senator McDonald Jones. Dwayne Bristol. Gavin Jordan. Reshma Ned. Joel Charles. Sean Butters. Ian Charles. Drupati Deonarayan. Shauna Yap. Roylyn MacDonald. Omesh Ronald. Kelvin Hill. Nope. Ezekiel Beard. Richard Critchlow. Dwayne Rogers. John Chand. Colin King. And Troy Graham. Now for the category of 25 years of service, Garth Ralph. Anand Charan. Bernard Johnson? Nope. Prasad Ramdani? Stephen Gulliver? Lee Baptiste? Royfield Henry? No. Leona Jacobs? Likrani Sukram Polidor? Alan White? James Barry? Alessa Cameron? Thakurdeen Deodat? And Karen Daniels. I now ask our chairman to present monetary awards to 4 schools to be used for the upliftment of educational pursuits. And the first would be Covent Garden Secondary School. Here? Yeah. Leonora Secondary School. Better Hope Nursery School. And Cane Grove Primary School. Very confident. Thank you, fellow shareholders.
Give a round of applause to all those employees who finished 10 and 25 years service in our company. Some of them have just joined the elite club. It's a long service to banks that years. Thank you very much. Service. It's off? Yeah. My fellow shareholders, I will now call on the Secretary to read the notice convening the meeting and the auditor's report, except the section captioned under key audit matters.
Good evening, everyone. Notice of the meeting. Notice is hereby given that the 68th Annual General Meeting of Banks DH Limited will be held at Thirst Park, Georgetown on Saturday, 27 January 2024 at 5 p.m. for the following purposes. Agenda A, to receive the financial statements for the year ended 30th September 2023 and the reports of the directors and auditors thereon. B, to consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution. 1, that the financial statements for the year ended 30th September 2023 and the reports of the directors and auditors thereon be and are hereby adopted. To consider and if thought fit, to consider the declaration of a final dividend of $1.30 per share as recommended by the directors, in addition to an interim dividend of $0.45 per share and a second interim dividend of $0.45 per share previously declared by them, and if thought fit, pass the following resolution. That the interim dividend of $0.45 per share and a second interim dividend of $0.45 per share already paid be confirmed, and that a final dividend of $1.30 per share as recommended by the directors in respect of the year ended 30th September 2023 be approved and paid to the shareholders on the company's register at the close of business on the 27th day of January 2024. D, to elect directors in accordance with Article 109 of the company's bylaws. The directors retiring by rotation are Mr. Roy Errol Chung, AA, Mr. Ronald Graham Birch Smith, and Ms. Frances Sarah Paris, who, being eligible, offer themselves for election. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolutions. That the directors be elected en bloc, that the retiring directors, Mr. Roy Errol Chung, AA, Mr. Ronald Graham Birch Smith, and Ms. Frances Sarah Paris, be and are hereby elected directors of the company. E, to fix the remuneration of directors in accordance with Article 86 of the company's bylaws and Section 104 of the Companies Act, Chapter 8901. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution. That the remuneration of $2,042,712 per annum be paid to the non-executive vice chairman. The remuneration of $1,689,062 per annum be paid to each non-executive director in accordance with Article 86 of the company's bylaws and Section 104 of the Companies Act, Chapter 8901. And that the traveling allowance for each non-executive director be fixed at $841,676 per annum, and that the additional sum of $125,027 per annum be provided for additional remuneration for each director serving on technical committees. F, to appoint auditors in accordance with Article 143 of the company's bylaws. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution. That Messrs. Jack A. Ali Sons and Company be and are hereby appointed auditors for the period ending with the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. G, to fix the remuneration of auditors in accordance with Article 146 of the company's bylaws. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolution. That the remuneration of auditors be fixed at $37,250,000 for the current financial year. H, to fix charitable donations in accordance with Article 62 of the company's bylaws, to consider and, if thought fit, pass the following resolution: that the amount appropriated for charitable donations be fixed at $5,775,000 for the current financial year. I, to transact any other business of an ordinary meeting. Any member entitled to attend and vote is entitled to appoint a proxy to attend and vote instead of him. A proxy need not be a member of the company. The instrument appointing a proxy must be stamped and deposited at the registered office of the company not less than 48 hours before the time for the holding of the meeting. Note, Saturdays and public holidays are to be excluded when determining the 48-hour period. Shareholders may contact the company secretary's office, Mrs. Cavern Kite Williams, at telephone numbers 592-225-0918 or 592-225-0910, extension 225, or email kkitewilliams@bankzih.com to address any questions in relation to this notice or the annual general meeting. By order of the board, Cavern Deborah Kite Williams, Secretary, Corporate Legal Officer, Registered Office, Thirst Park, Georgetown, Guyana, 4th December 2023. Report of the independent auditors. Opinion. We have audited the financial statements of Bank ZIH Limited, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, which comprise the statements of the financial position of the group and the company at 30 September 2023, and the statements of income, statements of comprehensive income, statements of changes in equity, and statements of cash flow for over the year then ended for the group and the company, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies as set out on pages 37 to 100. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements gave a true and fair view of the financial position of the group and company as of 30 September 2023, and of their financial performances and their cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, and with the requirements of the Guyana Companies Act. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on accounting, ISAS. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the group in accordance with International Ethics Standards Board of Accountants, International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independent Standards, IESBA Code, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IESBA Code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the financial statements of the group and company of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statements of the group and company as a whole, and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. The key audit matters addressed were taken as read. Other information. Management is responsible for the other information. The other information comprises the information included in the annual report but does not include the financial statements of the group and company and the auditor's report thereon. The annual report is expected to be made available to us after date of this auditor's meeting. Our opinion on the financial statements of the group and company does not cover the other opinion, and we will not express any form of assurance, conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the financial statements of the group and company, our responsibility is to read the other information identified above when it becomes available, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the financial statements of the group and company, or our knowledge obtained during the audit or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. When we read the annual report, if we conclude that there is a material misstatement therein, we are required to communicate the matter to those charged with governance. Responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements of the group and company in accordance with IFRS and the requirements of the Companies Act, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing these financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the group and the company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as applicable matters related to going concern and using the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the group or the company or to cease operations or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the group and the company's financial reporting process. Auditors' responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements. Our objectives are to maintain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements of the group and company as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, or to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it's not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISAS will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if individually or in the aggregate they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. As part of our audit in accordance with ISAS, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis of our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than for one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collision, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal control. Obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on effectiveness of the company's internal control. Evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the financial statements, or in such disclosures are adequate to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the company to cease to continue as a going concern. Evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the financial statements, including disclosures and whether the financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. Obtain sufficient, appropriate audit evidence regarding financial information of the entities or business activities within the group to express an opinion on the consolidated financial statements. We are responsible for the direction, supervision, and performance of the group audit. We remain solely responsible for our audit opinion. We communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the plan, scope, and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we may identify during our audit. We also provide to those charged with governance with a statement that we have compiled with relevant ethical requirements regarding independence, and to communicate with them all relationships and other matters that may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence and, where applicable, related safeguards. From the matters communicated with those charged with governance, we determine those matters that are of most significance in the audit of the financial statements of the group and company of the current period and are therefore the key audit matters. We describe these matters in our auditor's report unless law or regulation precludes public disclosure about the matter, or when, in extremely rare circumstances, we determine that a matter should not be communicated in our report because the adverse consequences of doing so would reasonably be expected to outweigh the public interest benefit of such communication. The engagement partner on this audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is Mr. Javed A. Ali. Jack A. Ali, Sons & Co., Chartered Accountants, Georgetown, Guyana, Church, November 2023.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary, for that detailed report of the auditor's report. I will now call on a member to move the following resolution. Resolve that the report and the financial statements be taken as read. Could I have someone to move that by showing your right hand? It's been moved. I have someone second. It's been second. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against, the motion is hereby carried. My fellow shareholders, permit me to extend a warm and cordial welcome to the 60th Annual General Meeting of Banks CIH Limited, and to sincerely thank you for your unstinting support and encouragement over the period since we last met. Permit me on my own behalf and that of the Board of Directors, the management and staff, to extend best wishes for a peaceful, healthy, and productive 2024. My fellow shareholders, at the time of our meeting, you would have received your annual reports and would have observed that the theme for the report is freshness is domestic, which is validated by images on the cover of our Banks Beer, GT Beer, and Classic Beer, and supported by images of our food products, menu offerings from our Demico restaurants, which truly attest to the fact that freshness is domestic. My fellow shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, as we consider the theme, freshness is domestic, a possible question will arise. Why do people drink beer? For many reasons. It's a journey of discovery of a process, a specialized craft, an appreciation of a blending of flavors, and understanding of different techniques from different parts of the world. For others, it's about connecting with people, sharing what is termed as a social lubricant for good conversation and a time well spent. My fellow shareholders, whatever is the reason, there's one underlying, unifying, and universal truth. Fresh beer is better beer. In actuality, my fellow shareholders, and depending on your preference, when it comes to choosing a brew to drink, that beer would well have traveled hundreds of miles under varying storage conditions, distances, and temperatures before reaching your favorite shopping center or your favorite bar. It is quite possible that the beer which you are about to consume can have been around 6 to 12 months since it was brewed. Fresh beer is the beer of its optimum state, which happens immediately at the end of the brewing cycle. It is best consumed at this point and typically holds its perfect flavor for about 3 to 4 weeks. My fellow shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, the importance of freshness of beer is often either mistaken, misunderstood, or possibly unheard of. Market research has shown that when the question is asked, what do you understand to be a fresh beer? Many reasons or persons will reply, the place where you buy or drink it. Many studies have explored the effects on breweries which export overseas in an effort to keep up in an increasingly competitive and globalized beer market. What the results have shown is that the flavor of beer loses its flavor, leading to the presence of stale flavors and a decrease in drinkability of the beer. Another lesson known and appreciated fact is that significant changes in beer quality and stability were found to be also affected by the vibration during transport. The vibrations caused a rapid decrease in oxygen and an increase in compounds, which caused the beer to smell like wet cardboard. There is even some evidence, my fellow shareholders, that exposure to light can affect the taste of beer, which is in part the reason why some manufacturers use bottles with a darker color. These compromises of flavor and quality, my fellow shareholders, are not only caused by the competitive beer market, but is also the continued pressures from the retail trade to deliver products with a longer shelf life. Although in most other industries, fresh is best, it's considered a pure and simple fact amongst consumers. In the beer industry, market pressures contribute to the misguided perception by some consumers that bottled or canned beer doesn't really go off. There are, however, some indications that attitudes are changing, with the use of a born-on date as opposed to a best-before date to give consumers a better understanding of how long their beer has been around before they drink it. My fellow shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, the aim of this message this afternoon, that freshness is domestic, is not so much to prevent storage mishaps, but rather to limit the effects on the flavor profiles of the beer which are featured on the cover of our annual report. Freshness is a quality appreciated by consumers, both within the bars and restaurants trade and for home consumption, where our aim at Banks is to ensure that there are no taste compromises throughout the delivery of fresh beer from our domestic brewery in our preferred place of consumption. The Webster Dictionary, my fellow shareholders, provides the following definition: brewing as to prepare beer, ale, or stout by steeping, boiling, fermentation, or by infusion and fermentation. Now, the only way this can be done, my fellow shareholders, is by a brew house or a brewery. This is the reason that we advertise that the only beers brewed and bottled in Guyana are Banks Beer, GT Beer, and now Classic Beer by Banks DIH Limited. My fellow shareholders, the question is being asked, why the Banks DIH Limited Holding Company, Inc., approved by the shareholders at a special general meeting held on the 15th of July 2023, has not yet been implemented. In the annual director's report, it was stated as follows: on the 18th of January 2023, your directors incorporated a holding company by the name of Banks DIH Holding Inc. The Banks DIH Holding Inc. is to create a new corporate structure for Banks DIH Limited Group of companies, which would facilitate the entry into new activities arising from the present rapid economic development in Guyana. This step was taken pursuant to the advice of a reputable accounting firm, BDO, which operates in many countries in the Western world and has a branch in St. Lucia. In order to bring into operation Banks DIH Holding Inc., the directors had to have recourse to a scheme of arrangements under which the shareholders of Banks DIH Limited would exchange their shares for shares to be issued by the new holding company, Banks DIH Holding Inc. That scheme of arrangement required not only shareholders' approval, but also judicial sanction in accordance with Section 217 of the Companies Act 8101. The shareholders did approve, and that approval was obtained at the meeting held on Saturday, the 15th, 2023, and judicial sanction of the scheme of arrangement was granted by the court order made on the 4th of September 2023. After the aforementioned steps were taken and accomplished by fellow shareholders, the next step involved was an application to the Guyana Securities Council for the approval of the applications required to implement the scheme of arrangements. There has been correspondence to this regard from the 8th of September 2023 to the 13th of October 2023 between Banks DIH Limited and the Guyana Security Council. That correspondence has not resulted in a positive outcome. We have been unable to persuade the Guyana Security Council to approve our applications to bring into operation the new holding company, Banks DIH Holding Inc. That is so notwithstanding both shareholder and the court approval of the scheme of arrangements. Accordingly, my fellow shareholders, we have had no choice but to follow the advice of our attorneys to apply to the High Court for orders designed to result in the scheme of arrangement being fully implemented and the new holding company coming into operation. The legal proceedings were filed on the 20th of December 2023. The matter is listed for hearing on the 20th of February 2024. We will be respectfully asking the court to deal with this matter on an expedited basis. This is because undue delay is more than likely to deprive the Banks Zayat Limited Group from investment opportunities with foreign partners, which can result in enhanced shareholders' value. My fellow shareholders, it is my pleasure to present to you my report, which provides a comprehensive overview of the performance of Banks Zayat Group for the financial year which concluded on September the 30th, 2023. The overall performance of the group improved by recording a profit before tax of $14,509 million compared to $13,398 million in 2022, an increase of $1,111 million or 8.29%. The profit after tax for the group attributable to shareholders of the parent company increased from $8,395 million to $8,970 million, an increase of $575 million or 6.8%. The revenue generated by the company was $44,048 million compared to $39,653 million in the previous year, an increase of $4,395 million or 11.1%. The profit before tax of the company was $11,393 million compared to $10,506 million achieved in 2022, an increase of $887 million or 8.4%, while the profit after tax increased from $7,589 million to $8,129 million by $540 million or 7.1%. My fellow shareholders, the complexity of the business environment is escalating rapidly. In the wake of the ongoing global recovery from COVID-19 pandemic in 2023, we have encountered further challenges in the global landscape, impacting our operations. The geopolitical crisis in Europe continues to exert influence on commodity prices and the supply chain's operations. My fellow shareholders, at our annual staff meeting, the following departments were congratulated for their sterling efforts during the last financial year. The production, warehouse, and sales department for producing and selling 20,095,000 units of products, an increase of 7.9% in physical sales when compared to the previous year. The company was certified and approved to use the Made in Ghana mark for all the malt products, all carbonated soft drinks, all products produced by the Dairy Novelty Ice plant, and all rums and vodka and all wines manufactured by your company, Banks Zayat Limited. The financial year which just ended on September the 30th, many challenges have included supply chain delays and increased costs for raw and packaging material, spares, energy distribution, and the retention of skilled employees. Our strategy, my fellow shareholders, was centered around our employees and customers to drive sustainability solutions and to build resilience in our manufacturing processes, maintaining the production of high-quality products and efficiencies in operations. Additionally, my fellow shareholders, our leadership skills were also demonstrated in our prudent financial management and the utilization of our information technology resources to enhance decision-making in real time. My fellow shareholders, the company continued to make capital investments in plant machinery and equipment in order to strengthen long-term development and increase our manufacturing capacity and improve the operational efficiency also. The capital works were completed with acquisition of a 120-hectoliter new brew house to enhance the brewing capacity of our malt products. There was acquisition of a blow molder, conveyors, puncheons for the rum division, as well as new online blow molder for the soft drinks plant. The food division was enhanced with packing equipment, spiral mixers, bag sealing unit, conical rounder, and the temperature controls equipment. The utility service areas within the company, which included Thirst Park's water well, the CO2 plant, central quality lab, refrigeration, and material handling were also upgraded with new equipment. My fellow shareholders, the power generation department was upgraded with new switch gears, the overhaul of generators, and the installation of alternative power equipment. Several of our land holdings and buildings were upgraded, including the Burbis branch Bun, special events outlet, and the Linden branch, and the construction works continue on the elevated car park facilities. My fellow shareholders, the elevated car parking structure, which is located just west of Thirst Park on a land bounded by the East Bank Public Road and the Demerara River, has been a source of many questions from the general public as to what exactly was Banks DIS Limited creating on that plot of land. My fellow shareholders, I can today with a deep sense of pride in what we have been able to accomplish, and advise that the structure will be a 6-story parking facility which will also house several related business ventures. By the way of some background information, my fellow shareholders, the building was designed by Marcia Ramos and was structured engineering design undertaken by Mr. Jafar Kanzivars of Miami, Florida, respectively. The structure consists of 6 floors, each housing 35,000 square feet of space. The intention there, my fellow shareholders, is to utilize levels 1 to 5 for the parking of employee vehicles, 80 vehicles per level, totaling 400 vehicles. Construction has commenced since November 2019, and several challenges were encountered, some of which being the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the continuous rainfall, in addition to shortage of skilled and unskilled labor. My fellow shareholders, in spite of all these challenges and the fact that the project design was undertaken by overseas design firm, we can take much pride in the fact that the construction was done mainly by local contractors. Additionally, my fellow shareholders, the ground floor of that building has been designed to accommodate an automotive dealership which will display motor vehicles, motorcycles, vehicle tires, and CM lift trucks, and Daikin air conditioning systems. The 6th floor, the top of the building, will now accommodate a state-of-the-art restaurant, which will seat approximately 300 persons and will cater for events such as conferences, weddings, similar social events, and the facility for parking and dining, as I mentioned earlier. Additionally, the western end will have parking accommodation for 30 trucks of our company. So my fellow shareholders, today, I think you had the opportunity of using that elevated car parking area to park your vehicles for this meeting this afternoon. My fellow shareholders, during the year we have launched a lot of new products. And it gives me great pride to introduce to you Guinness Smooth, a stout that represents the culmination of meticulous craftsmanship, innovation, and an unwavering commitment aimed at delivering excellence to the consumer, and is brewed right here at Banks DIS Limited in collaboration with Diageo Global Technical Brand Team. Guinness Stout is a bittersweet mix of hops, malt, and roasted barley, which gives it its rich chocolate and coffee flavor. It is brewed with a robust yeast, and it has 1/3 of the bitterness of the Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. The product was introduced to the Guyana market, and the results so far have been most encouraging. Today, it also gives me great pride to introduce Guyana Banks Classic Premium Beer. It's a true representation and commitment to innovation, brewed right here at the only brewery in Guyana, Banks DIS Limited Brewery. Classic beer is a full-body beer using a specific variety of hops that delivers a clean bitterness that is pleasant to the palate. The mixture of two specifically selected variety of malts gives it that full malty flavor, which is the true nature of a premium quality product. Classic is a lager beer and is brewed under strictest of quality control and assurance measures, ensuring that all the standards operating procedures are adhered to throughout the processes. Classic beer, my fellow shareholders, is another great addition to the line of products at Banks EIH Limited, where we believe that freshness is domestic. It serves as a fitting tribute to our commitment to the Guyanese public by bringing high-quality products to our customers. Classic beer, my fellow shareholders, will be available this afternoon at the bars after our meeting is closed. During 2023, my fellow shareholders, after extensive capital expenditure to upgrade the soft drink plant, including the updating, mixing, and blending capability, water treatment, clean-in-place equipment, and the addition of nitrogen dosing equipment, Banks EIH Limited became the production and distribution of Minute Maid fruit coolers under the license of Coca-Cola Company. Banks EIH Limited and the Coca-Cola Company have worked together on the project implementation of this new locally produced beverage over the last 18 months, and we are pleased to bring these products to the Guyana market. The Minute Maid brand was founded in 1945 and has grown to be the #1 juice brand in the world. Minute Maid fruit coolers are in the refreshment category and are part of a family of the Minute Maid juice beverages. Made with real juice and infused with vitamins, Minute Maid fruit coolers are shelf stable and can be stored at room temperature. Banks EIH Limited produces Minute Maid fruit coolers in a variety of flavors, including tropical punch, citrus punch, and apple in 3 sizes, the 250 ml, 500 ml, and the 1.5 liter. Minute Maid fruit coolers are available at all retail and wholesale outlets nationwide. And the Minute Maid fruit coolers will also be available this afternoon at the bars, and my fellow shareholders, you will receive samples as a part of your gift for today attending the meeting. During the year, my fellow shareholders, the company acquired 40 acres of land for the purpose of future development and expansion. My fellow shareholders, in 1955, with the establishment of Banks Brewery Limited, Thirst Park, as this came to be known, came into being. Over the past 68 years, many new departments and services have been added, with reality being that there is no more space at the Rumbelt location to accommodate any new business-related activity. As such, the Board of Directors sanctioned the purchase of 40 acres of land from Houston Estates Limited for future development, and this land is located on the east of the Mandela Highway. The development of this land will be phase 1, will start in 2024 with the erection of 2 40-feet concrete bridges on the southern side, with one on the east and the west approaches respectively. Additionally, the plot will be fenced. In the interim, as we propose to construct a temporary bridge to commence land clearing activities and the filling of the land with sand. The first phase of the usage will be warehouses for the storage of bottles, durables, and consumables. The second phase is for the central services, utility systems, and finally, we'll have manufacturing on that site. The purchase price for the 40 acres of land was $2 billion. In our quest to deliver products, my fellow shareholders, to customers, the transport and distribution fleet was boosted with the acquisition of new trucks and forklifts. Hundreds of customers in the mom and pop shops, supermarkets, and grocery stores, and several offices and ministries were supplied with coolers, freezers, and water dispensers. The Information Communication Technology Department was also upgraded with new computers and power solutions. My fellow shareholders, in the financial year 2024, the capital expenditure was focused on the upgrade of the #1 and #2 soft drink plants, the dairy plant, the bakery, transport, power generation, land development, and now a new beer bottling plant to be commissioned in 2025. Our subsidiary, Citizen Bank Guyana Inc., fellow shareholders, The revenue of Citizen Bank Ghana Inc., a 51% owned subsidiary of the company, was $5,629 million compared to $4,847 million generated in 2022, an increase of $782 million or 16%. The profit before tax was $3,264 million compared to $3 billion in 22, an increase of $263 million or 8.8%, while the profit after tax was $1,946 million compared to $1.8 billion, an increase of $146 million or 8.1%. The net interest income was $4,387 million, and the earning per share was $32.71, while the total asset base was $111.8 billion, and the loan assets were increased from $38 billion to $52 billion by 35.9% or $30.7 billion. Our next subsidiary, Banks Automotive Services, Inc., a 100% owned subsidiary of the company, generated revenues of $170.9 million compared to $170 million in 22, an increase of $53.9 million or 46.2%. And the profit after tax was $9.2 million compared to $5.9 million, an increase of $3.3 million or 55.9%. The new multi-story vehicle parking facilities and corporate offices and the showroom of Banks Automotive Services Inc. is expected to be open for use in the first quarter of this year. My fellow shareholders, on the 28th day of August 2023, your company, which is Banks Automotive Services Inc., and Daikin Applied Latin America LLC executed an agreement which established a partnership between the two parties for the distribution of Daikin products. Banks Automotive and Services Inc. was appointed by Daikin Applied Latin America LLC as a distributor for the resale and distribution of its air conditioning equipment, which include accessories and parts. Daikin Applied Latin America LLC is a subsidiary of Daikin Applied Americas Inc., the largest air conditioning company in the world and a multinational and leading provider of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning and refrigeration solutions to meet the changing needs of residential, commercial, and industrial customers. What is it telling us, fellow shareholders? That here your company, Banks IS Limited, is well recognized in the world. We are bottlers of Coca-Cola products, the largest beverage company in the world. We are bottlers and distribution of Diageo Company, the largest spirit company in the world, and now we have a contract with the largest air conditioning company in the world, Daikin. It shows that your company is well recognized in the world of business. My fellow shareholders, the Board of Directors declared the interim dividend of 45 cents per share unit, which was paid on the 18th of May 2023. A second interim dividend of 45 cents was also paid on October 26, 2023, and now the Board of Directors recommend a final dividend of $1.30 per share unit, making the overall dividend per share unit of $2.20 for an overall cost of $1,870 million, an increase of $170 million or 10% over the previous year. My fellow shareholders, irrespective of the new challenges which confronted us during the period under review, we were able to record growth in shareholders' value. From a net profit of $8,970 million attributable to shareholders, a dividend of $1,870 million was paid, leaving the sum of $7,100 million, which was transferred to the retained earnings. The market value of the company shares as of November 30, 2023, was $160 per share. My fellow shareholders, for the period under review, our company continued aiming to achieve the highest standards in product quality, health and safety, and environmental standards. In this regard, the production plants successfully completed surveillance audits for the International Organization for Standard ISO and the Coca-Cola Quality and Safety Management System, ISO 9001, quality management systems, ISO 22000 food management safety systems, ISO systems 22002 prerequisite programs for food safety systems certificate, standard version 5.1. All of this was done for the soft drink plant, the novelty ice and dairy plant, and the carbon dioxide manufacture. The Made in the Ghana mark by the Ghana National Bureau of Standards for all our locally manufactured products also. During the year, the brewery achieved in the Guinness League of Excellence, third in the Americas out of 14 breweries, and 19 worldwide out of 49 breweries. We are in compliance with all the operational requirements with regard to the manufacture of products of Royal Unibrew. The Environmental and Safety Department was able to successfully complete the surveillance audit for the Safety Management System ISO 545,001 and the Environmental Management System ISO 14001. The department was also able to achieve all relevant safety certificates of compliance for the year 2023 from the Ghana Service, the Ghana Energy Agency, the Mayor City Council, and the Ministry of Labor. Our company continues to invest in capacity building through training and skill building. During 2023, over 350 employees were trained in the areas of health and safety. Additionally, 35 employees were trained as fire marshals. My fellow shareholders, we continually strive to cultivate meaningful relationships within our business, establish connections with our local community, and engage with various organizations and individuals. Additionally, my fellow shareholders, we continue to support religious and faith-based communities as well as sporting events. Our commitment to educational initiatives remains steadfast with the continuation of apprenticeship and work-study programs. Continuous training facilitated by our training department was conducted for all employees at all levels. Moreover, we provided bursaries to eligible students, specifically the children of employees and shareholders who excelled in the National Grade 6 Assessment Program examination. Additionally, scholarships were granted to individuals pursuing degree programs at both the University of Ghana and the Gaisuku Training Center. My fellow shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to advise on the retirement of Mr. George MacDonald as the co-managing director after some 51 years of loyal and dedicated service to our company. Mr. MacDonald joined our company on the 1st of October 1972 as a clerk in the bottle stores. By dint of commitment and dedication, he was selected by the company and was granted a scholarship to read for a Bachelor of Science degree in economics at the University of Ghana. Consequence, upon his successful completion of his degree program, he was appointed to the position of sales manager soft drinks in 1981. In 1991, Mr. MacDonald was recommended for promotion to the position of marketing manager, and in 1997, Mr. MacDonald was recommended to sit on the company boards of directors as the marketing director. And in 2013, Mr. MacDonald was confirmed as the co-managing director, marketing director of this company, which position he occupied until his retirement from active service in June 2023. Permit me on your behalf, fellow shareholders, and that of the management and staff of Banks IH Limited, to thank Mr. MacDonald for 51 years of sterling and dedicated service, and to wish him well over the years ahead. My fellow shareholders, the future look of this company. The recent concluded year was once again demonstrated the company's resilience in the upcoming financial year and beyond. Our strategic approach involves maximizing the potential of our global brand portfolio, as well as cementing our standing as a consumer-focused entity. We are committed to building upon our well-established foundations by prioritizing the reinforcement of our core strengths, including advancements in marketing, innovation, revenue growth, management, execution, This dedicated focus aims to enhance value for our shareholders, our suppliers, our employees, and our customers. I wish to thank our management team and employees for their commitment and dedication to those practices and values which have contributed to the growth and development of this group. I also wish to thank my fellow directors for their continued support, encouragement, and guidance throughout the year, and our related shareholders, our loyal customers, reliable suppliers, our business partners, and the consumers who continue to support our products and our services. In conclusion, my fellow shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, permit me on my own behalf and that of the Board of Directors to extend to you all and your loved ones an exciting, productive, and rewarding 2024. Thank you very much. My fellow shareholders, I move the following resolution. Resolved that the financial statement for the year ended the 30th of September 2023 and the reports of the directors and auditors thereon be and are hereby adopted. I will ask the Vice Chairman to second that motion.
Mr. Chairman, fellow shareholders, I am pleased to second the motion that the Chairman has just moved for the adoption of the financial statements for the year ended September 30, 2023, together with the reports of the directors and auditors thereon. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chung. My fellow shareholders, before I put that motion to be adopted, I will now invite questions. But before I open the floor for questions, I have received a few questions again, fellow shareholders. There are 6 main questions I found to be very important to be bring to this meeting this afternoon. The first question is that, Mr. Chairman, in light of the court order granted by the Honorable Justice Roxanne George CCA SC, the Chief Justice acting for the Mayor and City Council to seize the goods of vendors operating around the premises of Venezuela Limited, what efforts are being made by Banks AS Limited to remove the vendors operating around Demico House building? My fellow shareholders, Banks AS Limited has made numerous efforts for several years to remove the vendors from operating around this premises. We sent letters to the town clerk, and the City Council, the Deputy Commissioner, the Commander of the Regional Division A, to notify these authorities about the aforesaid activities and requested their intervention in getting the said activities to cease. But as to no avail, nothing has happened. Recently, we engaged the services of our attorney at law to resolve this matter. The said attorney at law sent a letter to the Mayor City Council informing them about the said activities, and consequently, the Mayor City Council, represented by the Deputy Mayor and officers from the Market Committee and the Public Health Department, visited Demico House. After the visit, they stated that they would implement a long-term strategy involving a policy to relocate the vendors and a short-term approach plan, which is to clear the walls of the building and the entrances. My fellow shareholders, the number of clients going into our restaurants of Demico House have decreased. We can't even get into the ideal building now. The restrooms and the toilets are being abused. The Mayor and City Council initiated this plan, but however, the results were not successful. Banks AS Limited have no alternative now, my fellow shareholders. But we are contemplating now, we'll take legal actions in the court to alleviate this problem, just like what Moniswar Company have done. The company is losing finance at Demico House. The whole area is being abused, and we just can't continue to run a business under those conditions. The second question I received, fellow shareholders, he said, Mr. Chairman, I've been constantly reviewing the trading of shares on the stock exchange, and I've observed that the last trades are always the lowest. Why is this so? My fellow shareholders, this anomaly occurs because the stock exchange in Ghana currently publishes and takes into account all securities transactions. As a result of this practice, a small share transaction can significantly affect the share value of a particular share, has been the case on our stock exchange from all the trading companies presently. This is a concern and has been communicated to the Ghana Securities Council in the past, since one of its functions is to create and promote such conditions in the security markets as may seem to it necessary, advisable, or appropriate to ensure the orderly growth and development of a capital market. We have also written the Ghana Stock Exchange and have engaged them on several occasions regarding this issue. Notwithstanding that, my fellow shareholders, we have examined the stock exchange rules of other territories in the Caribbean and concluded that this issue may be solved by the implementation of an odd lot market. The odd lot market is a separate market where all transactions of maybe less than 1,000 shares or security are handled, depending on the total share capital of the company. Those transactions in this market do not affect the share price. Banks GIS Limited has made or recommended this method now to the Security Council and the Ghana Stock Exchange, but to date, we have not seen it being considered or even implemented. The third question I got is said, Mr. Chairman, driving by Torres Park on the southern side along the East Bank Public Road, a lot of construction and installation can be observed in the area of the brewery. Can you advise what is happening in this area? My fellow shareholders, I can advise that a new 120 hectoliter brew house has been installed, which has the capacity to produce 220 brews per month, which is the equivalent of 440,000 cases of malt products. This installation was necessary to meet the requirements of the new beer bottling plant, which is scheduled for installation in the third quarter of 25. We have experienced a short supply of beer to meet the increased demand during Christmas in December, as there was little or no carryover stock. But with installation of this new brew house and the beer bottling line, we'll be able to produce 800,000 cases of beer per month, which could satisfy demand. Additionally, my fellow shareholders, in that same area, we are scheduled to install a new carbon dioxide plant of the capacity of 500 kgs per hour to support the production of the carbonated beverages and dry ice for the sale of dairy products. I just want to add something to that, fellow shareholders. The brewery expansion program was 3 phases. The first phase was to do the cellars for the storage and the bottling plants, and the bottling of the beer, the bottling tanks. That was done. The second phase was to build the brew house, and that was completed now. And the third phase is the new beer bottling plant. We could not have put the beer bottling plant first, otherwise what would it produce? Nothing. We could not have built the brew house without having storage for it. So that was the program, the cellars, brew house, and then the bottling plant. And that brings me to the question of number 4. It said, Mr. Chairman, during the month of November, and more so in December, there was a shortage of Banks beer on the market, which affected the Christmas sales and my personal consumption. Can you say what caused this to happen? My fellow shareholders, regrettable, there was a shortage of beers toward the end of the year. The beer bottling plant, like any engineering plant in the world, was scheduled to undergo its annual engineering audit in February of 23. And this was done, but because of the supply chain issues and the required spares did not arrive until August of this year, of last year. The audit having started, just like doing any business and any engineering, you can only see so much from your data what the spare parts are required. Those parts were ordered, but when we went into the plant and we started to fix the plant, because the parts never came until August, that was in September, we then found out there were additional parts which were needed. Now in the month of September, and if you look at your annual report, you're going to see why your inventories are so low. It is there in the annual report in the financials. So the parts never came in. By the time we get around to getting this plant fixed, it was already into the month of late September into October. So we started off the high period, October, November, and December, without not having about 150,000 cases of beer on the floor. This really created difficulties for us. We put the plant on 12-hour shifts. The plant were working 2 hours, 12 hours per day, 7 days a week. We had to take into consideration the circumstances of our employees because it's not human possible for the employees to be working this long shift. It was not easy to go and form a third shift because the plant is so technical. So you just can't bring people and say, run a beer bottling plant. So the staff had to work 12-hour shifts, and I do appreciate what they have done for this company. For working around the clock, even Old Year's Day, Christmas Eve night, they were working to keep the beer plant going so we could have had beer on the market to sell. As I stand there this evening, fellow shareholders, last night at our Board of Directors meeting, the Board of Directors approved the new bottling plant. It's going to cost us $21 million to put on a plant, and that's only the plant itself. Your company is so strong financially, we're not going to borrow money, and we're not going to sell shares to put this plant into operation. The good part about it is that the suppliers for this plant have told us 2 months ago we might not get this plant till 26 because they have 63 plants on order, so we have to join the line. Lucky for us, 2 companies have canceled out their order. So we were able to get into that area because of our good relationships with the Cronus company from Journey. That does not mean that we're going to get it overnight. We have to build a whole new section of this complex management decisions to put on a high-speed new state-of-the-art bottling plant, which will only operate with 12 people. We're hoping to have this done, my fellow shareholders, as early as possible. But early as possible, it's going to look like it's going to be 25 April or May. That is the third phase of the beer industry. At the same time, we are upgrading our new soft drink plant where we have 2 plants, and both of them have to be totally Coca-Cola ready now because we are doing Minute Maid products, we are doing Sprite, Coca-Cola, and our soft drink sales now have jumped to 700,000 cases a month because we are supplying Suriname with Coca-Cola for the last year because they had a fire. And now our sister company in Belize has a mechanical problem, engineering again, and they are short of Coca-Cola products, and they're asking us to supply. But the demand is rising, and we have to start to prepare. Our plans are there, fellow shareholders, but these plans are affected by the Gaza war, the Red Sea shipping. There's no water in the Panama Canal. The boats can't get through. So it is all engineering again and supply of spare parts. The 5th question I have, fellow shareholders, is said, Mr. Chairman, can you provide an update on the company's export sales? Over the period, my fellow shareholders, the financial year 2023, we sold 593,000 units of products at a value of $4.7 million that was exported. The majority of this was done, as I said earlier, just on the Coca-Cola brand to Suriname, to the finance company, whose bottling plant has been destroyed by a fire. But we are doing good with our rum sales in Antigua, St. Kitts, and the small islands in the Caribbean. So the $4.7 million is a very welcome sight to bank's financial statements. The last question, my fellow shareholders, has to do with Citizens Bank. And it said, Mr. Chairman, does Citizens Bank participate in the government's mortgage lenders program? And how many loans have been granted? Fellow shareholders, Citizen Bank on the 31st of August 2001 became the first bank that entered into an agreement to provide low-income mortgages under the government's mortgage lenders program when the ceiling was $4 million per loan. This has over the years have been increased and now stands at $20 million per loan. To date, the bank has approved in excess of 2,000 mortgages under this program with a value in excess of over $6.5 billion. Currently, the bank has 1,070 mortgages on books with a balance of $4.9 billion. Now, those are the 6 questions I thought, fellow shareholders, which were very important to bring to the shareholders meeting this afternoon. I now open the floor for any other questions from the shareholders.
A pleasant good evening to all shareholders, and shalom to my beloved chairman.
Thank you.
I come this afternoon with privilege. I love to review because I have been a part of this company for 23 years. And I could say without a doubt this afternoon, when I listen in depth to the programs, the visions, and the ups and downs, I could say absolutely without a doubt, we always say by the scripture that a nation without a vision shall perish, but there's a vision here. And I want to thank the directors and the leaders of this company who have innovated and a journey that the next generation that is coming will know that this company really means business. And let us take in consideration Demico as a whole. As you rightly said, we have taken a strategy when they were issued to deal with it. Let me take a more profound attitude in resolving Demico issue once and for all. That the goals and the profit that it is so intent to achieve will be finally realized. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your support.
Mr. Chairman,
Good afternoon, sir.
we acknowledge the contribution as made by Mr. McDonald, but you did not state if the process where he was at that office, who is going to be filling that office of co-chairmanship.
That is being considered now.
I was wondering if the board of directors is still looking to fill that, or if they determine that they don't need to fill that co-chairmanship position.
That will be discussed at the board level, Mr. DeFreitas.
I'm not hearing you well.
I said that will be discussed in the future planning of the company.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to say I'm kind of pleased in 2 aspects of some things you said tonight. One is that the company is going to pay for its Bay plant out of its own capital without borrowing. That's an important element. And 2, secondly, the fact that you have been able to adhere to the 40 acres that you talked about, because that's very important to keep expanding this company. And a company that does not grow dies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's 2 very important points Mr. DeFreitas just raised there. A company is able to do the capital works without borrowing and without selling shares. Selling shares is long-term payments. Borrowing carries interest. So your company, and it's important for me to add something to this because sometimes the questions are asked about dividends. And dividend is an element of profit. And the board of directors have been looking at dividends in relation to about 20% of the profit. And if you take the profit, you're going to see 20% is being paid. So the recognition of shareholders are on stream with the company's objectives. At the same time, you're able to develop this company with all this capital works without borrowing and selling shares. That means the value of your shares will increase. And that's why we are concerned seriously about what is going on at the stock exchange with the level and the value of our shares. And we'll have to take action now to solve this problem. So thank you again, Mr. De Freitas. Your comments are always welcome to the Board of Directors. Any other questions, fellow shareholders?
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
want to begin by thanking you for your presentation to us shareholders. But I want to start with an observation. I'm sitting like about 50 meters away, and I really had difficulty following you. And I was thinking that perhaps the acoustics here ought to be considered so that when we meet, we can follow friendly comment as we go forward. 2 questions. And perhaps because I was not hearing properly, there was that issue on page 15, the litigation against GRA. I don't know whether you addressed it because, as I said, difficulty in following. But just to say this, because I know it's engaging the attention of the court. But when I look at the time frame, in 2 months' time, would be 8 years since that matter. And just to ask if you're able to respond in terms of how things are at this juncture. Does it appear as if a resolution, an outcome, favorable to banks DIH is on the cards? So that's the first one. And as I said, you will say what, given how the situation is, you're able to say. And secondly, about 20 years ago, I asked this question. I am raising it again. Because it has sort of nostalgic significance to me. Question regarding the beverage of Puma. Remember that drink that you made, we used to make? Yeah. Well, I remember it well because that used to be in my courting days. And we always had a drink of that lovely beverage. Since married, and that marriage has lasted for 45 years. This year will be 46. So I just raised this. Is there any consideration at all? Given that, well, now, according to GDP, I hear people touting Ghana is now the 10th richest country in the world. I suppose we ought to be able to do that again, because if I remember, you had said that there was the concern of costs and so on. But now that we are such a rich nation, I just wonder. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for those 3 questions. First of all, let me apologize. You know, it's a question which keeps coming up at these meetings about the acoustic and the noise levels and the feedback. And today we are here testing the system, and I'm sure the technical people who are listening to your question will try to improve on this matter. And that's why we had to bring the microphones closer for these questions this evening, because when we had the microphones at the back, it was difficult to hear what the shareholders were asking. So I agree with what you're saying. We will continue to make the efforts, and the technical people, they're the ones who have to make sure that these things are operative. The question you asked about the consumption tax in GRA, you're right, the matter is about 8-9 years in the court, and there's the processes of what is going on in the court, sir. There was a ruling in favor of banks, And then the GRA appealed the ruling, and it's been 2.5 years to 3 years now. That appeal is still at the High Court, at the Appeal Court. And that is only on one section of this litigation matter. It is how to put the files together. We spoke to the lawyers. As a matter of fact, this week we had a meeting with the lawyers to discuss the matter, and they gave us the assurance now that it might be listed sometime in the next quarter. But we all know the courts operate, and we just can't force the issue. And we got to be careful what we say to in public because it's sub judice. So all we can hope for, sir, is that the matter will come to some conclusion early. But the question of if banks will win the case, I think that is a simple decision to answer because otherwise we would not have filed the case. I think we filed it because we're looking for equal treatment under the Constitution 146D, which states that equal rights. And we saw one competitive company got a rebate on this consumption tax. And even some articles in the press of government office saying that banks should take the matter to court and they will get back $80 billion. But now the shoe's in another foot. So we will continue. You know, as they say in life, patience is virtue. But as you said, the shareholders are looking for that funds to come back into the company, which is their funds, and I'm positive that they'll be looking forward to some, if we ever win the case, some substantial dividend to be paid to the shareholders out of those funds. Your third question about Puma, let me be honest with you this evening. I don't think we'll ever do it again. It's not a matter of finance. It's a matter of the product. We went back to Monsanto, who manufactured the ingredient, and they don't have it anymore. To manufacture Puma, it calls for retort plants. Okay, that's engineering, that's science. The bottles are heavy. We have to cook it. We have to use carnation milk. So you're right. In your young days, as you mentioned, all of us enjoy Puma. I remember the two. But I don't think it's going to be back into banks. I have to be honest with you. Because the supplier don't have the ingredient anymore. Maybe they have other types of nutritional beverages. But most of these things now are put into PET bottles, and like how we do Minute Maid is infusion, is nitrogen. So we can look, and banks is considering energy drinks, but energy drinks is a different market. It's 10, 12 cups of coffee in one can. So I have to be honest with you, sir, I don't think we'll ever see Puma again back at this Banks AS Limited. Thank you again for your question, sir. Yes, ma'am?
Good night, sir. As I was sitting there, I hear you talking about the billions you are making. Can we get something better than an umbrella and couple drinks?
Let me be honest with you,
No, yeah, but because some of the shareholders can't handle that big umbrella, you know. When the breeze started to blow, it's skin up and then it's done and there is it. We can't get something better than an umbrella. That's all.
Fine, but this question about gifts keep coming up. And we must understand, fellow shareholders, it's over, I think, if I can remember the figure to my head, I think it's $190 million. I can't remember it out of my head. Finance guy, what? Is 100 how much? Huh? Is 100 how much? No, the total cost is 100 million. It's $100 million to have this annual shareholder meeting. It's a part of the company's regulations. Yes, you must have a meeting. The gifts cost $38 million in gifts that we're giving out this afternoon. It's not, we can say to you to give you a pen, another umbrella, as I said. What is the choice we have with gifts? We even considered a lot of people now are having water glasses, the mug that people walk around with water. So, because we have to be careful of the minor shareholders, as we said before, we can't give you alcohol. We can't serve rum at these meetings. We can't give a 50-year-old child who's a shareholder a bottle of rum. We cannot do those things. We have to find gifts which are universal to all. No. Maybe the umbrella is too big, yes. But with that sun in the last 8 months in Guyana, thank you for your recommendations, man. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for your report. Yeah, your numbers are very impressive indeed. I was impressed by your revenue numbers, your profit numbers, and I was also impressed by the future plans for this company. I am very glad that I invested in Banks DIH. I am planning to invest some more, but one thing I can't understand properly is why doesn't the share price move in tandem with all these positive things, with the good reports and the bright future? I think you alluded to it in one of the questions you were answering, saying that the market system does not allow for trading. And I know that the demand and supply will stimulate the price for a share. Do you have a timeline of when this will change? Because it's really...
I know it's concerning to all the shareholders and the board and yourself. I myself, as you said, shares are working with the company's returns and investment, profits, plans, programs. That's how people buy shares. We can envisage in our mind. I will give you an example last month. A shareholder sold 5 shares. 5 shares out of 895 million shares and affected the stock exchange by $20. Now, the rule in the bylaws of this company, you cannot transfer 5 shares. You cannot transfer 5 shares. All the brokers could have sold a share, 5 shares to a person, 100 shares, 89 shares. The board of directors can refuse those transfers. Last night we discussed it at our board meeting, and we're going to take action, sir. We have to be maybe the pace setters, as we are known as, to go forward to have this matter corrected once and for all. As I mentioned earlier, we did the documents of odd lot markets. An odd lot market means you cannot trade a certain number of share above a certain quantity. Secondly, in all over the world, if a share value drops 10% or increase 10%, it is closed down until an investigation is done. Why? Not in Guyana. So the stock exchange was implemented in 1998.
Right.
25 years ago. And to date, there's no new operational system change.
So this will continue indefinitely? You have
No, I said it will continue not indefinitely until the public companies like banks and other companies decided that we have to take action to protect you and to protect your investment. That is what we have to do.
Okay, thank you.
That is what we have to do. Yes, we have another last question in the back there. Yes, sir.
Good night, Mr. Chairman, directors, and all shareholders. My name is Mr. Hector Danrad, ex-employee of Banks DIH for 35 years, sir. Sir, I have a serious problem. I am taking care of 4 businesses for my children them, and all is fed up with the service of Banks DIH. I also is very tired of it. We have one in Public Road Agricola, one at Yabba on the highway, one at the back of Providence, one at Kaikan Street where I'm living, Banks DIH house. Thank God for it. Mr. Peter de Geer gave it to me. I must thank very much it. I also learned a lot from Banks DIH. But sir, I'm getting a serious problem. My children's fed up a bit. We are not getting the service as we need. The pre-sellers come in and take the order, and when they do come, they give you what they feel to give you. And all my children are fed up with the service of this company. I would like you to look into it and see what you could do about it. That is the first one. Second one, sir. I know that this company had put up the arch at the Wicklow because I live there. I noticed the lights is not working for a long time. I would like to know what the position of that. If the company is still looking after it, and if not, why?
Thank you,
Okay.
Hector. Thank you. I'm glad you raised the question about service and our pre-sellers. And they're here tonight. I hope they're listening to what you're saying. Because this is a complaint not only by you, it comes from other areas in the company. And banks is built on service. I mean, you're a former employee. You understand what when we speak about customer services. So I'm glad you're raising the question. It's not coming from me to those employees, because that is what we are doing here tonight. Banks believe in the new terminology called inclusive management. And inclusive management is bottom-up, not top-down. So what you're raising is a question which will benefit all our customers. So I do appreciate it very much. Pertaining to the Arch, this company has 1,500 employees work here. But 500 of them live past that Arch. And not one of them has made a complaint that the lights are not working. Again, employee relationship. Not one of them has made a complaint as what you're making tonight and saying that bank's assets out there which we donate and which we are responsible for, that the lights are not working. And every day they drive past 2-3 times a day. So your observation as a former employee is highly appreciated, Hector. Thank you very much.
Lastly, sir, lastly. Now, I'm coming to this meeting seeing the company born. And this petty shareholders gift that you're giving us, I think it's time to complete stop it. I think it's time now that this company making millions of dollars. And we should get $100,000 now. And I'm sure the shareholders will love to get it. I think it's time for this petty thing. We could go to China and buy it.
No, stop.
Thank you very much.
No, the company...
Thank you very much.
Your recommendation is not approved. You will never pay cash as a gift.
Shareholders will love it.
No, it's not what the shareholders love. You got to be careful.
$100,000 we could get.
Thank you. Thank you.
Millions of dollars.
I
This
said
company
thank you.
making.
Said thank you.
Time to finish it.
We will not pay any cash as a gift. So your emotions will run away with you. Next question. Well, we thank you very much for all the questions, very shareholders. You have another question, madam? Excuse me. You have a question?
Hi, good night.
My name is Paulette Molyneux. Live at lot 440.
I can't hear you. Can you fix the microphone, somebody? Ushers, can you fix the microphone?
Please fix it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Paulette Molyneux.
Can you just speak direct to the thing, madam, please?
Well, you got to tell me how to do it. You know. My name is Paulette Molyneux, living at lot 443 Kingston, over 40 years. And I'm a shareholder at Bank ZIH. I'm a shareholder at Bank ZIH, 1985, the 15th of December. And I heard by a friend who I trust 30 years now. And thank God for Jesus, we in the 31, I'm healed. And the problem is that my sister got a beer garden at 4th Street, Kingston, Dano. And she passed away. And now she's 312 and they're heading it. Junior, Linda, and Buckman. And I just be there with them. And as I be there, I see start.
Can you just speak direct to the phone? Ushers, can you help her, please?
I see GT.
Can you?
I see GT. Vitamalt and the other one. This is the real thing. Banksville. And baby Guinness, my father. Range. Let always be on the market with other products. It must never, never, never come off the market. A pass it go down, bill it up back. Send it to all banks here outlets because it's running the show. Because when I did there, is a set of people looking for this and they're crying out. They always want it. When I walk to the place where y'all got in Main Street, at Courts in front, if you see the crowd, we're running it.
Okay, thank you, because you're right. You know, we had, as I said earlier, is brewery fresh, and we have to increase the production so we can have more of those great products on the market. Thank you, ma'am.
No, I ain't finished.
You ain't finished?
I will ask you that $1,400, we can't buy nothing with it at this time. So I beg my daddy, Clifford Reese, to, if you could kindly put something more on the money. I'm begging to the as a shareholder.
Put
from
more money
1985,
Put
15th
more money
to
where?
December. $1,400 can compensate now.
What is 1,400?
Pardon?
Well, what is the 1,400?
I answer you, sir.
Well, what is the 1,400?
That is we getting every 6 months. 1,400 and change. Not proper 50.
Oh, you mean the number of dividends that you have?
Wait, sir.
The dividends you're receiving every 6 months.
Wait, sir.
Well, okay, we're going to pass the resolution later, and we are increasing the dividends tonight. So when you guys...
Yeah, we need it. $1,400 is not no money.
I can't...
When we join this
I don't know what the $1,400 is about, madam.
We need something else on it. I'm begging for all shareholders, including
What is $1,400?
That is what we're getting on the check every 6 months.
Oh, the dividend, that's what I said to you. The dividends are going to increase. You're going to get a new dividend next week.
We're begging for that for
all right,
shareholders,
we're going to get a new
including
dividend next week, which will increase.
We need at least about 4,000.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you very
every
much.
6 months. I'm begging.
Yes, ma'am, they have another question back there.
Sit up. Good night.
Good night.
Happy Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank
and
you,
I
same
wish
to
you
you.
all God bless you and be with you. And I
you.
hope the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
I am here to ask you when a person want to put their name, like my brother outside want to put the name, I change it into my name. What you could do?
Okay, so you want to add your name to the certificate or change it from his own to your name, right?
Yeah, my brother wanted in my name right
There's a
outside.
transfer form, and I think the share register office is here tonight. She's at the gate. Or you could come in and ask for her name. It's Cheryl, Daryl.
Yeah.
You could come and see her, and she's going to give you the transfer form to sign up.
Yeah.
And your brother will sign it, and he will transfer it to your name, right?
Okay.
There's no problem with that. That can be done.
Okay, there's the next thing. We are shareholder, and I hope the best that I think y'all do a value thing for the shareholder people. We could go and buy an umbrella. We know about it, glass, anything. But I need something really, really good.
Madam.
We need a phone.
Madam, I'm talking about this gift for the 5th time. These things are a token. Hold on, listen to me
We want a
carefully.
big phone.
Listen to me carefully. One year, a shareholder asks for a Rolex watch.
We need a phone.
Now you want a phone, $1,500 US.
Find a family.
It's not going to happen, ma'am.
Well,
It is not going to happen. You're not going to get a phone. You're not going to get a phone.
Okay.
It's a token of appreciation, right? Thank you very much.
Well, whatever it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take one more question, please.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair.
Good evening.
Board members, fellow shareholders. First, I'd like to say congratulations on the net profit acquired. However, as it relates to the holding company, I believe it is incumbent on the board in essence of transparency, to provide some clarity to the shareholders on the basis provided by the GSC for the denial of its implementation. Secondly, I think it is important to examine the source of any problem if you want to have a sustainable solution. And I revert to the stark decline in the share price over the recent weeks. I would like to inquire, I know it wasn't too clear, but some reason was given. But I'd like to inquire directly whether this decline is linked to share dumping or persons selling the shares, which results in an abundance in the market with a low demand. Or is it in any way linked to the current situation with the Guyana Securities Council? Finally, what are some of the plans, I know you mentioned a few in your presentation, that the board seeks to implement in 2024 that will increase the demand for the shares or the stocks in banks, which I think will alternatively increase the share prices. Thank you.
On the matter with the holding
Mr.
company-
Chairman.
Hold on.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Danrad, I'm finished with you.
Mr. Chairman, just excuse me one thing.
I have to answer the other shareholder question. Join the line. Have a seat. It's an official meeting. Voice your personal things outside. Yes, sir. Let me get back to your questions. The question you're asking about the holding company, I have to be cautious here because it's sub judice. It's in court. The board of directors have a scheme of arrangements which was approved by the shareholders. The shareholders came to a meeting in July and said they want this. They want a holding company. We have written numerous letters to the Security Council. We sent in the applications for the delisting, unlisting. Because if you remember the share of scheme of arrangements, they talk about fair exchange of shares and values and everything. The Security Council seems to have a different view of how this matter should be implemented. We try to explain as clear and precise of what the scheme of arrangements are, and this is internationally done. We just can't figure out what is their objection to this program. So the only alternative that we had was to ask the court to interpret what they're saying and what we are saying to have this program implemented. And that is why we asked the court to expedite it as early as possible. Pertaining to the plans and the value of shares, you're right. When companies make announcements about what will happen in the future, the analysts will look at it and take into consideration if those or that information is actually factual. Is it going to do better or worse? And if you know that in the developing stock market exchange, you have the analysis people who predict, quarterly revenues, quarterly profits of companies. And if it does not meet those demands or those predictions, sometimes you find in the stock exchange, the shares will drop because it does not meet requirement. In Guyana, it's amazing what is going on. Last month, they had about 80,000 shares sold, and it was between about 25 persons. And some people are selling 1,000 shares. I don't know what is the concept behind it. It is not a financial concept, that I can tell you. It is not being sold because of the look into the stock exchange or look into the balance sheet and see what is being. I think what is happening is some of the younger people who their parents might have given them the shares over time, they're selling the shares for some monetary reward. Whatever cash they can get immediately in hand. Maybe they want to buy a motorbike or a car or something. So they don't understand the value of the asset. That this asset has more value than cash, because cash does not multiply up. So they're selling 89 shares and 100 shares and the whole thing, and this is not only banks. As I said earlier, it is all the the companies are being affected by this. So what we have to do is to really get an odd-lot market like what Trinidad operates under, Barbados, Jamaica. That when you go in and you sell these shares, you can't have that small percentage affecting the whole. I will give you a good example of that. Think about the macro companies, the major shareholders. At the end of their financial year, they balance their comprehensive income statement with the value of that share. It dropped, so right away it shows a loss. Think about the pension schemes, which are balanced, with investment in shares. And when those shares prices go down, you have to find liquid assets to put back into the pension scheme to bring it back for the obligation to the shareholders, to the pensioners. And a lot of companies which have defined benefit schemes and not defined contribution schemes, and they're doing this for the shares, is going to drive some of them up a wall at the end of December. So thank you again for your question, sir.
Just a follow-up. I know shares are usually analyzed sectorially, and that is one of the reasons I inquired if it's something specific, because I'm seeing DDL share decline, but not at the rate at which banks have declined. And this is consistent over the past weeks. So I'm trying to connote or denote where exactly the issue is that is causing this decline.
I don't think I could pinpoint a direct reason for why it is happening, because it is showing small transactions, so it's not a financial model that you can say, and I don't think that people are using the balance sheet and profit and loss statements to justify some of those decisions. I think it's a thing. But Mr. Danrad, you're already on the floor, right? So I had 15, 20 questions, so let me hear you again.
Chairman. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Danrad, I'm not hearing you.
I'm hearing nothing. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for giving us the clock and the umbrella the last time. I hope they don't give you long boots and a raincoat this time. No, thank you very much.
No, you're being derogatory, right? And that is uncalled for the shareholder and a former employee. You should be no better when you come and stand on these microphones, Mr. Danrad. Is that a good example of a former employee of this company asking for a long boots, right? And you want $100,000? Yes, sir, let me hear you.
Mr. Reese, all due respect, sir, to you and everybody. You're doing a very good job, and may God bless you and all your staff and everybody. I'm a young businessman, and I was he's a person that has inspired me a lot. And I come here, I'm a shareholder, and I love this company, and I love everything you're doing. And may God bless you and everybody here. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you, sir. I am glad to see you become a shareholder of banks. More young people are needed here. Very encouraging afternoon, fellow shareholders. A lot of questions, and as I said, new management systems are called inclusive management. So we have to listen to shareholders, employees, and what I like is constructive questions, not abusive questions. The questions have been asked and the answers have been given. The resolution has been moved and was seconded by Mr. Chung that the financial statement for the year ended 30th of September 23 and the reports of the directors and auditors thereon be and are hereby adopted. It's been moved and it is second. Can you show by raising your right hand those in approval and those against? The resolution has been adopted. Dividends. Resolved that the interim dividend of 45 cents per share and a second interim dividend of 45 cents per share already paid be confirmed, and that the final dividend of $1.30 per share as recommended by the directors in respect of the year ended September 30, 2023 be approved and paid to shareholders of the company's registrar at the close of business on the 27th of January 24. Could I have someone move by raising your right hand? It's been moved. Could I have someone second it? It's been seconded. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against, the motion is hereby carried. Elections of directors, there are two parts of it. First part, I call for the shareholder to move the following resolution, that the directors be elected in block. Could I have someone to move it by showing your right hand? And can someone second it? The second. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against? The motion is hereby carried. The second motion, that the retiring directors, Mr. Roy Errol Chung, AA, Director Ronald Graham, Bert Smith, and Mrs. Frances Sarah Paris be and are hereby elected as directors of the company. Can someone move by showing your right hand? It's moved. Can someone second? Second. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against? The motion is hereby carried. Remuneration of directors. Resolved that the remuneration of $2,042,712 per annum be paid to the non-executive vice chairman, the remuneration of $1,689,062 per annum be paid to each non-executive director in accordance with Article 86 of the company bylaws and Section 104 of the Companies Act 1991, and that traveling allowance for each non-executive director be fixed at $841,676 per annum, and that an additional sum of $125,027 per annum be provided for in additional remuneration for each director serving in technical committees. Can I have someone move that resolution? Has been moved. Can someone second it? It's been seconded. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against? The motion is hereby carried. The appointment of auditors. Resolved that Mrs. Jack A. Ali and Sons and Company be and are hereby appointed auditors for the period ending with the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. Can someone move that motion? It's been moved. Someone second? It's been seconded. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against? The motion is hereby carried. The remuneration of auditors. Resolved that the remuneration of auditors be fixed at $37,250,000 for the current financial year. Can someone move that motion? It's moved. Can someone second it? The second. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against? The motion is hereby carried. Charitable donations. Resolved that the amounts appropriated for charitable donations to be fixed at $5,775,000 for the current financial year. Can someone move that motion? It's been moved. Can someone second it? It's been seconded. Those in favor, can you show by raising your right hand? And those against? The motion is hereby carried. That brings the end to the official meeting this evening, fellow shareholders. Madam Secretary, have you received any questions? There are no other business, Madam Secretary just reported. So that concludes the meeting this afternoon, and fellow shareholders, it's my privilege to close the 68th General Meeting of Banks IH Limited, which was held today, Saturday, the 27th of January, 24th, at Thurles Park premises. Thank you very much for attending, and fellow shareholders, please drive home safely.